Hello, Team Grade 5. It's Miss Leah Brewster, and it's time for us to do science. Just in case you're not feeling motivated, remember the words of Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It's only to be understood. So grab a pencil and a notebook, get settled. We're about to start. Are you ready? Let's begin. Today's topic is the skin. I have a question for you. What organ is the biggest organ in the body? What organ is the biggest organ in the body? Think about it. The skin. That's right. The skin is the largest organ of the body. Without skin, your muscles, bones, and organs would be hanging out all over the place. So the skin holds everything together. It also protects our body. It helps to keep our bodies at just the right temperature. It allows us to have a sense of touch. Now, the skin that you see on your body is just the tip of the iceberg. Just below that, there's many more things that can help us to understand the skin better. To understand the skin better, we're going to examine an image. The image is depicting a cross-section of the skin. Now, from that image, you would notice that the skin has three major parts. So the top part of the skin is called the epidermis, and the middle part is called the dermis, while the bottom part is called the hypodermis, or the subcutaneous tissue, and below that is the muscle. But the major parts are the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. Let's discuss them individually. The skin is made up of 3 layers, like we discussed just now. Each layer has its own important parts. The layer on the outer side is called the epidermis. The epidermis is the part of the skin that you can see. Take a moment, look at your hands. Examine it. It's beautiful. Yes. Now, even though you can't see anything happening on the dermis or the surface, it may look like nothing is happening. The epidermis is hard at work. At the bottom of the epidermis, new skin cells are forming. When the cells are ready, they start moving towards the top of the epidermis. This trip takes about 2 weeks to 1 month. As newer cells continue to move up, older cells move closer to the top and die. What you see on your hand here is actually dead skin cells. That's right, they're dead skin cells. Most of the cells in your epidermis work to make new cells, while a small amount of them make a substance called melanin. Melanin gives the skin its color. The darker your skin, the more melanin you have. When you go into the sun, these cells make extra melanin to protect you from getting burned by the sun's ultraviolet ray. Alright? So, the melanin, as you learned, is responsible for your skin color. That's why we have persons with various skin tones. You know, there's some persons that might be a little pale. That means that their body is not producing as much melanin. While a person may have a very dark skin tone, their body is producing lots of melanin. However, it's to note that every skin tone is beautiful. Okay? Every skin tone is beautiful. Now let's move on to discussing the dermis, which is the part of the skin that is just below the epidermis. You cannot see the dermis part of the skin because it is hidden under the epidermis. The dermis contains nerve endings, blood vessels, oil glands, and sweat glands. It also contains collagen and elastin, which are tough and stretchy. So collagen and elastin is what gives the skin its stretchy and tough feel. The nerve ending in your dermis tells you how things feel when you touch them. They work with your brain and nervous system so that your brain gets the message about what you're touching, whether it is the soft fur of a cat or the rough surface of a blackboard. Sometimes what you feel may be dangerous, so the nerve endings work with your muscles to keep you from getting hurt. If you touch something hot, the nerve endings in your dermis respond right away. Ouch, that's hot. The nerves quickly send a message to the brain or spinal cord, which then immediately commands the muscles in your arm to take your hand away. This all happens in a split second without you ever thinking about it. Let's look at an example to better understand how it is your nerve and skin work together to protect you. So here we have an image of a young girl, and she's about to touch a cactus plant. And if you know, or if you've ever seen a cactus plant, some of them have spikes all around them. And if you touch it, it can bore you and hurt too. So the girl is touching the cactus. When she touches the cactus, electrical pulses are sent. So the skin, the muscles in the skin, the receptors, they send a message to the brain. You know what? You're touching something that's going to cause you pain. And immediately after you feel that pain, your muscle, it causes your hand to move away quickly from the site, right? So the brain sends a message quick within a second, so that your muscle can move. That's called your reflex action. Your dermis also contains sweat glands. Even though you can't feel it, you are actually sweating tiny bits all the time. So sweat doesn't always look like what the image is showing, where you have sweat running down and it's visible. Sometimes it's invisible, right? But that does not mean it's not happening. Your body's not secreting sweat. Why? Sweat comes up through the pores, which are tiny holes on the skin that allows the sweat to escape. When sebum, boys and girls, is the natural oil that is secreted from your body. So when that sweat mixes with the sebum, they form a protective film that is a bit sticky, and it keeps your body cool, right? So it keeps your body cool. You know, boys and girls, that our body gives off a natural heat, and without sweat, you would feel hot all the time. So sweat is excreted through the skin to help our body to cool down. The third layer of the skin is called the hypodermis, or sometimes the subcutaneous layer, right? So it's called the hypodermis or the subcutaneous layer. It is made up mostly of fat and helps your body to stay warm and absorb shock. For example, if you bang into something or fall down. So that subcutaneous layer, it's made up of fat, and that fat helps to protect your bones and other body organs if you fall or bang into something. The layer is where you'll find the start of the hair too. Each hair does not start from the top where you're seeing it there. It's actually deeply rooted in that hypodermis. So each hair on your body grows out of a tiny tube called a follicle. Every follicle has its roots way down in the subcutaneous layer and continues up through the dermis and finally through the epidermis. Now that we're finished discussing about the three parts of the skin, which is the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, it's time for us to have a quiz. That's right. We're going to do a quiz. And for this quiz, we'll be doing multiple choice. So the first question is, what is your body's largest organ? Is it the heart, large intestine, skin, or brain? The second question now. The skin does all of these except protect your body, help keep your body at just the right temperature, help the body to observe sugary foods, allows the body to have a sense of touch. The third question, what is the outermost layer of the skin? What is the outermost layer of the skin called? Is it called the dermis, epidermis, blubber, or subcutaneous layer? The fourth question, what is your skin's natural oil called? Is it called sweat, melanin, sebum, or vegetable oil? What gives skin its color? What gives skin its color? Is it the dermis, blood vessels, dye, or melanin? And the final question, each hair on the body grows out of a tiny tube called what? Each hair of the body grows out of a tiny tube called what? Is it the follicle, straw, pore, or sweat gland? Okay, now let's discuss your answers and you can check to see if you would have understand all that we discussed. The first question was, what is your body's largest organ? The answer to that is not the heart, it is not the intestine, neither is it the brain. The skin is the largest organ in the body. I said that at the beginning of the lesson. The second question is, the skin does all of these except. The skin does all of these except. So that question is structured in a way to ask you which one of those functions the skin does not do, right? So the skin does almost all the functions except one. Let's check. Does it protect your body? Check. Yes. Does it help to keep your body at just the right temperature? Yes. Does it help the body to observe sugary food? No, it does not. The skin does not observe sugary food. Final. Does it allow us to have a sense of touch? Yes, it does. The third question. What is the outermost layer of the skin called? The outermost layer of the skin is called the epidermis, boys and girls. And below that, it's the dermis and then the hypodermis. So that part that you can touch and feel is called the epidermis. So the answer there would be epidermis. The fourth question. What is your skin's natural oil called? That natural oil that your skin secretes, it's called sebum. Sebum. It is not sweat, it is not melanin, and it is definitely not vegetable oil. It's called sebum. Okay, the fifth question now. What gives skin its color? What gives skin its color? Now that nice complexion that you see you have there, melanin is responsible for that. Remember, melanin, the amount of melanin that is produced in your skin tells you what skin color you'll have. So the more melanin the skin produces is the darker your skin would be. Last question. Each hair on the body grows out through a tiny tube called what? So that tiny tube that your hair grows out of before it reaches the epidermis, that's called a follicle. That's right, a follicle. Okay, boys and girls, that would have brought us to the end of yet another lesson. I want you to remember the words of Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. So don't be afraid of any topic that science may throw at you. You just have to take time to learn it, understand it, and that fear will turn into confidence. Okay, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.